January 11, 1993, a fire broke out inside of a family home in a quiet French village near the Swiss border. Firefighters entered the home expecting smoke and a panic. Instead, they were met by the charred remains of a family that had already been destroyed. And among the remains were Florence Romand along with her two children, 7-year-old Caroline and 5-year-old Antoine, all found deceased. And at first, the man then known as Dr. Jean-Claude Romand appeared like another victim. But when miles away, Romand's parents and family dog were also found dead. And once investigators actually called the World Health Organization, they were told that there is no Dr. Jean-Claude Romand, that no one under that name had a license or even a medical degree. That appearance collapsed. Hey, make sure if you guys are enjoying this story, you like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. Back to the video. For nearly 18 years, Jean-Claude Romand had convinced his parents, wife, children, friends, and neighbors that he was a successful physician and researcher at the WHO, when in reality, he had no job at all. Then once he could see that that performance was about to end, Jean-Claude did what a certain kind of family annihilator often does. He got rid of the audience. By most accounts, his childhood was not the obvious origin story people look for in cases like this. Romand had been born in 1954 in Lons-le-Saunier, France, and he had grown up in the village of Clairvaux-les-Lacs. He had not been remembered for being a violent or a cruel child. In fact, all accounts point to the opposite. They say he was quiet, well-behaved, and almost too respectful for a child of his age. Romand would later describe a family where honesty was treated almost like a sacred rule. But at the same time, his mother worried constantly, and Jean-Claude said that he learned early to mislead her as to not upset her. Be honest, but don't cause pain, don't make people worry. These were lifelong lessons for Romand, and from them, he learned a dangerous moral code. Upholding an image is more important than reality. In the singular decision that was made long before 1993, that made the ending of this story inevitable, can be traced back to that twisted moral code. He had enrolled in medical school, the kind of path that would make him exactly what he wanted to be seen as, intelligent, useful, and respected. But during his studies, he failed to keep moving forward. By the end of his second year, whether he overslept or whatever reason, he did not take the exams he needed to take. And yet he still told everyone that he had passed. And that was the lie that rippled outward for nearly 18 years until it finally reached 1993 in the form of fire, blood, and a family that never got to see the real Jean-Claude, all because of a young man that could not bear the humiliation of saying I failed. Jean-Claude almost reminds me of William Bradford Bishop, because Bishop's collapse appeared tied to professional humiliation, a denied promotion, financial pressure, and a terrifying idea that he might be revealed as something smaller than his image. Where Romand's humiliation failed earlier, he failed before he ever became the man people admired. So instead of protecting a real status, he protected an imaginary one. At first he continued pretending to be a student, then he pretended to be a doctor, then a researcher, until he was connected to one of the most respected health organizations in the world. And because people loved him, they believed him. He fooled them because trust does most of the work for a liar. His wife had never asked to see his office, nor did his parents demand to see his diploma. Every morning he left like a man going to work. Sometimes he drove the children to school, and then he headed towards Geneva. But he went nowhere. He spent his days in parking lots, cafes, service stations, libraries, and public areas of the WHO building. He collected official-looking papers, read medical journals, and learned just enough medical jargon to keep the illusion alive. When he claimed to travel for conferences, he just studied guidebooks so he could return home with believable details about the places he had never visited. His entire life became a job of maintaining the performance. There was almost no pleasure in the lie, no secret fortune. Behind the doctor was not a double life. Behind the doctor was nothing, just a man sitting alone in his car, waiting until enough hours passed for him to go home and be admired again. But I hear you asking, how could he afford to maintain the facade? Since he had no real income, Romand turned his fake status into a financial scam. He convinced relatives, friends, and anyone he could that his WHO connections gave him access to exclusive Swiss investments. They handed him their savings because they believed they were trusting a well-respected doctor. Of course, the money was never invested. It became the salary for a man whose career did not exist. And when people wanted their money back, that's when the lies finally caught up to Romand. His father-in-law, Pierre, had given Romand money to invest, and after Pierre asked to withdraw some of it, he died from a fall down the stairs while alone with Jean-Claude. The death has been officially ruled an accident, and Romand has denied involvement. But once we get to the rest of the case, I'll let you circle back to this and decide for yourself what you think. By late 1992, the illusion was breaking down, and now his mistress wanted her money back as well, and his finances were nearly exhausted. And around the same time, the president of the local school board tried contacting him at the WHO, and what would you know, he couldn't find him in the directory. And he mentioned this to Florence, Jean-Claude's wife, and whether she confronted him or not about it, within a week she would be dead. On the 9th of January 1993, Jean-Claude Romand would kill his wife Florence, along with their children, Caroline and Antoine, and he wasn't done yet. After this, he went to his parents' house, ate one last meal with them, and proceeded to shoot them. He had even made an attempt to kill the aforementioned mistress, but thankfully she was able to survive. Then he returned to the home where the remains of Florence and her 2 children still lay. He took some barbiturates and then poured gasoline over the house and set everything on fire, which is how we got to the scene that we started off at. Family annihilators often do not simply kill because they are angry. In many cases, they kill when an image collapses. A study in the Howard Journal of Criminal Justice identifies types of male family annihilators, including the anemic type, where the family becomes tied to the man's economic and social success. So when that success fails, the family no longer represents love. They become an audience watching the decline. Which explains why this case reminds me so much of the Bishop one. Neither knew how to be seen failing. Men like this would rather destroy the witness than lose respect. But this is also where Jean-Claude's story takes a sharp deviation from Bishop's. William Bradford Bishop vanished into absence. No body, no trace. Just a man who escaped by disappearing into mystery. Romand did not get that ending. Firefighters were able to pull him out, and he survived the fire. He did not burn the lie away with his family. All he did was open it in front of everyone. In 1996, Jean-Claude Romand was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with a 22-year security period. But in his case, life did not mean life. In 2019, after 26 years behind bars, he was released on parole and sent to live under supervision. Today, he lives without an ankle bracelet and even gets a small retirement pension. 5 murder convictions, suspected of a 6th, and apparently, the price was only 26 years in prison. A free man, one who gets to grow old on a pension, an opportunity he stripped from his children and wife, all because he was too cowardly to face being seen without the costume. Jean-Claude Romand wanted to be respected more than he wanted to be real, but when reality became inevitable, he chose murder over humiliation.